Welcome to the Dental Implant Practices podcast, where each episode will explore how to integrate dental implants into your practice and into bone, with your host, Dr. Philip Gordon.
Welcome back to the Dental Implant Practices podcast. I'm your host, Philip Gordon, and today it's a huge honor for me to introduce Dr. Brian Harris. Brian, thanks for being on the show with me today.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
So Brian is a cosmetic dentist in Scottsdale or Phoenix area. He is the kind of founder of the Smile Virtual System and doing a lot of great things for cosmetic dentistry and dentistry in general. So I wanted to have Brian on the show today and talk with him about a lot of the things he's up to with the Smile Virtual Consult System, kind of his practice, and kind of see how the things he's doing may or may not be, implicated in the implant dentistry world, as they're both kind of fee-for-service dental life enhancement processes. So I wanted to get you on board and talk dentistry, talk shop, and kind of see what we can kick around here, Brian. So if you would, please give my audience a little introduction about yourself, of kind of how you got into dentistry. I always think that's important to kind of hear people's journey. And then just a little about yourself, if you would.
My journey is a little interesting. My dad was a dentist growing up, and I, in high school, saw him go through this radical transformation of, just being a dentist to like being truly passionate about what he was doing. And it was right at the time he was over at Baylor Aesthetic Continuum, a group that he started with a handful of other guys, which ended up turning into LVI, which then ended up turning into Pac Live. And so I got to see firsthand like this first cosmetic boom, right? And the cool part about it was seeing like how it impacted him in his life. And I think that's when I decided, like, hey, this is actually pretty cool. Like I could do this. I could be a dentist. And so my older brother was at Arizona State 2 years before I was, and then went on to University of the Pacific. And then I followed him 2 years after him. And then my brother Scott followed me 2 years after that. And my father-in-law is actually a dentist too. And my brother owns a dental lab. So, I mean, it's just always kind of been in my family. And so that's kind of how it started, how I got into practicing. I've been in practice about 15 years now. And, but about 3 years ago was when everything kind of changed.
That story's funny because I think I'm just a couple years younger than you. I'm 39 this December. My father's a dentist also. And kind of about that time, about early 2000 or before, my dad really got it heavy into cosmetics and did some of those, I think, early Baylor Pac Live cosmetic continuums as well. So it's funny how, sometimes you've got crossover in some of these stories. And I think, his story kind of is what inspired me to go into dentistry as well. But then I got into dentistry and thought I wanted to do cosmetics, and ultimately found out maybe surgery was my passion. But you followed in there, and ultimately cosmetics continued to be your passion. So let's kind of pick up with that. I mean, I think, you find obviously, you get into dentistry, you just got to start figuring out how to do dentistry, right? And then you figure out what you like. And then you figure out, well, how can I spend more time doing the things that I like? And so that's probably what I think a lot of dentists go through. And so you stumbled upon, hey, these Smile cosmetic makeovers is something I'm passionate about. It's something I want to do. And then I think you probably went to the drawing board and tried to figure out, how do I spend more time doing that than other things? So how did that process evolve into kind of what you're doing now?
Yeah, well, so it's cool that you saw your dad go through that too. And I think what's happening is we right now, I say we, me and you, and a handful of other doctors listening to this right now are going through this like similar process where we've been in practice and we're trying to decide and have found like the things that truly makes us passionate. And so we're going after it. And it's actually a pretty amazing place to be, right? But I think the hard thing is for those that haven't found it yet, or are stuck, or wanting to find it, or looking for like what's next. Like the great thing is you can actually just go out and create those opportunities. And I think that's what I wanted to get into next is, for me, the way it happened was realizing yeah, it's great that I'm doing one smile case a week, but what would it look like if I was only doing that? For you, it was implants. Like, what would it look like instead of just doing one implant every couple weeks? What would it look like if you could do implants on a regular basis and have that be a big part of your practice instead of just another procedure that you do? And that's ultimately what happened to me about 3 years ago, is stumbling upon this idea of how to use social media and virtual consults to connect with people and convert them into patients that are excited about doing elective dentistry, and have them totally bought in before they've ever come in to meet you in your practice.
Absolutely, because it's obviously these are elective procedures. And so, the fear is there enough of them out there? Is the economy good enough? Will I have enough revenue to do this? There's all these worrisome factors. But once you get past, I know your big thing is like think differently, right? And I think you have to approach this type of dentistry, this type of practice. It's a mind shift. You have to change the way you're doing everything. Like you said, see things differently is another thing you talk about, and a lot of your trainings. You have to just really approach life and dentistry and the way that you do things differently, and that's a different process for everybody. How did so? And I think you were very early on this virtual consult. Like, how can I get patients in to buy in to where it's almost like they're coming to me like a referral, like they're coming from a friend that told you, hey, you got to go here. And because once they come in to meet you the first time, it's like they already like you, they already know you. The hard questions are already dealt with. You're just kind of there to, shake hands, kiss babies, and start taking impressions. I mean, how did it happen to where, you go from, hey, I want to do this, to where the Smile virtual system is now? Kind of walk me through how that system came to be. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of internal testing over years, and then eventually you've got a product now that you offer others. So how did that kind of process develop?
So the long story short is, my wife basically, after doing a couple of these smile cases in one day, I came home and was like, man, what if that's all I did? And like, how amazing would that be? And I remember her telling me, she's like, well, then why don't you just go do that? And I kind of laughed, because I'm like, well, we can't, dentists, we can't just show up and only do the stuff we love. And that's when she said something. Like, the pivot point for me is when she said, Brian, no, you can. The problem is that everybody knows you're a dentist, but nobody knows what you do. Like, nobody knows that you're good at this type of dentistry, because how are they going to know unless they've actually come in to see you as a patient, or like they've taken 30 minutes to actively go and search you and find you on a website and click 8 clicks deep into the website and see your before and afters. And that was when I was like, holy cow, she's right. So I started using social media to post cases, and it wasn't, probably 2 weeks into it when somebody reached out and was like, hey, I've seen the work that you do. I've always been self-conscious of my smiles. Is there anything you can do to help me? And I went to respond back to her and say, yeah, let's schedule for a consult. Here's the office number. And then I thought, wait a minute, I've already got her attention now. She's communicating with me. What if I just sent her a consult, but just sent a video instead of having her come in to see me? So I'm a big believer. I don't think teledentistry works, in the way it's being taught. This idea of like getting on a live call and answering patients' questions and helping them with whatever they need. It's not the most effective use of our time. It's cumbersome, difficult to do. However, I believe a virtual consult, a pre-recorded consult that is done in a very deliberate way and then sent to the patient, is super powerful, because you can control that sales process. You can control everything that happens, and it gives you a chance to talk about money. It gives you a chance to share cases of yours. It gives you a chance to share, other people's stories, and the patient can then watch that at home with their spouse. So by the time they come in to see you, like you said, they know your fees, they know who you are, they know the process. Just the mere fact that they showed up, like, why wouldn't they move forward? And that's why we get about 90% case acceptance on all high dollar cases, because they've already listened to all the hard stuff. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and I think you do enough of these consults, whether they're implant or cosmetic or whatever. I mean, it all boils down to, and I think you even talk about this in your system. It's like, is this the right place to do my dentistry? Okay, that's always the first question, right? what kind of results do I want, and what am I eligible for? And then how much is this going to cost? And I think, if you can knock those questions out of the park in a way that nobody else is doing, you're gonna differentiate yourself just in that alone. I mean, how easy is it for you to get those three questions answered through the typical process? Well, you gotta, like I said, they gotta dig around on your webpage. They gotta talk to various people in your office. They have to figure out a way to schedule. They have to get multiple reminders. They have to show up to your office. They have to go through, so with some offices, a 1 or 2 hour visit, and then maybe sometimes bring back for a second consult after they've gone through whatever, and then you spend another hour with the treatment coordinator getting fees, and it's just like it could take a week or 2 or 3, to get, hey, yeah, this is going to take. Okay, it looks like I can do 8 veneers or an upper all on 6. We can have you done in this amount of time. It's going to cost this amount of money. And here's some cases I've done. I'd love to help you. I've helped hundreds of people just like you, and I'd love to do your case too. Bam! I mean, that right there, you can get that within their inbox within 24 hours, and I think that's a process that's yet to be rivaled yet. So I definitely applaud you on that, because in and of itself, even if they're not moving forward with treatment right away, you're giving them a tool that they don't get anywhere else.
You said something really powerful there, and I think I want to go back to that, because imagine like it's like the tale of two patients. Imagine one patient going through all those steps, jumping through all those hoops, going in, seeing someone for the first time, going through the process. It's uncomfortable. It's a little embarrassing. And then going in and having somebody else come in now that they know is going to talk about money and is going to go over options. Imagine what that feels like that sales process, right? And then to me, that's like buying a car. And at the end, you're like, geez, just tell me how much it's going to cost. Like, I don't want to buy the tire protection and the windows. And I don't want to feel, just tell me bottom line what it's going to cost. So imagine that. And then also imagine you're a patient that is like, you've lost, all your posterior teeth on the upper, and you are ready for that all-on-4. But there's so much confusion out there because everybody's prices are different. Nobody knows to trust. Imagine as a patient getting a video back, hey, this is who I am. We do things very differently. Our process is very unique in that we believe in total transparency. And so there should never be any surprises when you work with us, but also like, we're just really good at what we do. And here's some examples of our work. And my fee is this. And if you feel like I'm a good fit for you, I'd love to work with you. And if for whatever reason, if not, that's okay. Like, hopefully this was at least helped answer a lot of questions and give you a second opinion. So it's almost like one of those people really wants the sale and is doing everything possible to like close it with treatment coordinators and an hour-long verbal presentation. The other person is just like, hey, I'm here to serve you. This is what it costs. When you're ready, I'd love to work with you. So when you want the sale more than they do, you've lost. But if you can step the provider, give them everything they want to know, really connect with them and leave them wanting more, they will pay more to come see you because the perceived value of who you are and what they're getting is better. I mean, we can talk about this for hours, but that is why, we have doctors just crushing it in the cosmetic space, but also a ton of doctors that are selling a lot of all-on-4 cases, because there's just with the same cosmetics, there's a lot of confusion around the all-on-4 process, or Invisalign, or sedation, sleep apnea, anything where there's confusion and it's elective, it works.
Yeah, you're adding clarity and giving people the opportunity to make the decision in a very trustworthy manner. Say, look, here, I've removed all the charades. Here's the real info. Here's the real cost. I'm a real person. I'd love to help you. And there you go. And I think people, if nothing else, just appreciate the sincerity behind that, because it's like, gosh, I can't get that anywhere else. And especially at the big box chains, it's all about the Wizard of Oz there. And, here we're just we're removing the cloud of transparency and just saying, hey, I'm real. I'm here for you. And I'd love to help you. And we're darn good at what we do. And here's our fees. And when you're ready, I'm here for you too. And I think that's what closes cases. Now, you've really kind of built a name for yourself on Instagram. Obviously, you know the power of social media better than most. I was really dragging my feet on Instagram for a long time, and then I realized my wife was spending more time on Instagram than anywhere else online. I thought, okay, there's got to be something to this. So, why is Instagram such a good platform? And what's the new thing on Instagram? Like, okay, start with why Instagram over anything else, and then also give me a couple. Hey, this is really what is newsworthy on Instagram these days.
Yeah, so Instagram, you have to think of it this way. It's a very passive process. Everybody there, when they have downtime, they're on there. When they're waiting for their hair appointment or they're at the waiting room in the doctor, everybody, like, that's where they go. Because, it's very different than Facebook. On Instagram, it's photos, it's quick, it's engaging, where Facebook's like posts and stories, and you got to be like mentally there to read through that stuff. So it's the fact that it's passive. They don't have to go looking for it. It just shows up in front of them. But also, it's almost like a snapshot view of, like, hey, here's who I am. Here's the work I do. And here's like me personally. Here's me professionally. So in one quick split second, they can look at your page and get an idea of exactly who you are if you do it right. And that's one of the things we teach at Smile Virtual is how to set it up and how to scale quickly. And if you do it right, it's like the ultimate form of social proof. And especially if you tie that with a strong call to action of, hey, here's who I am, here's what I do. And if you have questions, click here, get your questions answered in 3 easy steps. And it's free. You don't have to leave your home. It's almost like it makes it so easy for people. So I think it's by far the best medium. It's where everybody's hanging out.
Well, so let's assume our target market's on Instagram, like you said, and you're able to control and or at least set the tone for your image, right? Because a lot of this is about image. Are we a good fit, right? When you go to buy anything or you go to date anybody or you go to be friends with somebody, it's all about, are we a good fit? So like you said, they can get a peek into your persona, your office, your work, your personal life, and say, okay, this seems like a good fit for me. What's a couple of the newest things? Because obviously social media is always changing. And if I were to ask you, 2 years ago, what's the best way to get good results on Instagram, you might answer a different question then than you do now. If I were to ask you today, other than obviously taking really good photographs, documenting your work, and showing it in a positive light, what are the new things on Instagram that people need to know about?
Yeah. So first things first, on Instagram, before to really build a brand or to be an expert, you would have to go through the continuums. You'd have to have some gray hair. You just have to have experience and say like, oh no, I've been doing this a while. I know how to do this. Now it's so different. It's this idea of social proof. If you can prove your skills as a clinician, if you can do that all in 4 case and get phenomenal results, then, the proof is in the results, right? You can talk all day how trained you are and how much you've done, but if you can just show like, hey, I can get great results, that's all you need. And so part of it is, knowing how to do the work and knowing how to take good photos. So part of it's like the clinical training, but the other part of it is being approachable, right? Being like, people do business with people. Now, so that's why I don't set my page up as Harris Dental. I set up as Dr. Brian Harris, because people are a lot more likely to reach out to me as a person than they are me as a business. And so part of it's making it personalized. And then the third part is we had a call last night with all the Smile Virtual community. And the whole purpose of the call was teaching them the strategy of like, once you have it set up and you have it dialed in and you have it looking good, like you look the part, you look like the expert, then it's all a strategy of like, okay, now how do I get eyeballs on this page? And that's in how to organize giveaways, how to organize, collaboration with influencers, how to leverage the audience of the hairdresser, the plastic surgeon, the makeup artist in your area, the photographer, how to tap into all of their audiences to get viewers from all of their. And so, it really is a strategy of saying, okay, now I've looked apart. Okay, let's blow this up. How do I get as many people out there knowing who I am and what I do as quickly as possible?
Yeah, and a lot of the things you're talking about isn't, quote, marketing in the traditional sense. I'm not giving money to a marketing agency and saying, go get me pay-per-click ads. What we're doing here is more of a grassroots type of thing. It's not paid advertisement. And then they're seeing you as a person, you as a professional. They're getting social proof. They're getting to reach out to you one-on-one. They're getting a personalized consult for free and a lot of times within a day or a week. So it really reaches people in a way they've never been reached before. But it's also challenging to some dentists because, maybe personally they're not as interactive as they would like to be. So maybe that's the hard part for them. But maybe some dentists are very interactive and very personable, and this really is a perfect opportunity for them because they get to really shine. But yeah, like you said, it becomes a strategy now. How do we do things to blend and leverage these circles of influence, right? Because I might have 10,000 people I know, and you might have 10,000 people you know, but together we might have 40,000 people we know, right? If we blend all of our audiences together with a synergistic effect, and I think that's what you're showing them how to do. It's like, okay, let's make you look good. Let's have you a way to do these consults in a way that works, and then let's also give you a strategy that really isn't marketing dependent on like a budget, right? It's just marketing on how creative you are and how much time and effort you want to put into it, right? I mean, is that's kind of the game here with Instagram, right?
Yeah, 100%. And even if you're a doctor that's like, I hate this stuff, I don't want to do it. The cool thing is you can still create that persona, and you can just go get a good photo shoot and smile and look somewhat like approachable, and then hand it off to a team member and just say, hey, go and connect with these people as if you were me, and, post cases and engage with people. Like you can hire that out. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but you can do that. And, it's like this last month, we always report like the top 3 doctors within the platform that had the most consults. There was 3 doctors this last month that had over 100 smile design consults each in 1 month. And so imagine what it would be like for you right now if I just said, hey, here's a list of 100 people that are looking to get all-on-4s, and they just need some information about how to go about it. Now it's like you have the hot leads. Now you can sit down and come up with a strategy of, okay, what if I reached out to them, and what if I told them that I'm gathering data for a documentary, and don't lie, like really do this. Make a documentary about the power of confident smile and how implants can change their life, and offer every single 100 of those people that requested virtual consults a 15% discount on their all-on-4 if they're willing to let you video the process and share their case on social media. My point is, what if you had 20 people that immediately were like, hey, I'll let you do my all-on-4. It's going to cost 15% discount, but they let you document the whole thing and share it on social media. So, I mean, when I say it's a strategy, it's really a strategy. Once you know how to work the system, finding the patients is not an issue. Now it's just a matter of what days do you want to work? How much do you want to do? What are you willing to, what kind of time and effort are you willing to put in?
Yeah. Now I know myself, I switched down to 3 days a week a while back, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And a lot of times, like this week, even today, I'm flying out to Phoenix. I'll be teaching out at the Implant Pathway course Thursday and Friday. So I do a lot of that. And or other teaching, and or we just have 4 kids at home, so I need to be home if I'm not working. I know you kind of have a similar schedule, right, to where you're in the office maybe 3 days a week, but you're pretty much just doing smile designs that whole time, and I'm pretty much just doing implants all day, every day. So this process that you're talking about, and hopefully I'll continue to nurture along as well, allows you to get into where you can set your schedule and say, look, 3 days is enough, and where maybe you might not even be able to hit those numbers on 6 days a week before, because you're scattered and you're not doing full fee for service and all that. What is your schedule like now? Obviously, you're at the advanced end of this, but how do you do your days, and what's that look like for you? Because dentistry, right now, I think me and you are probably busier than we've ever been, and I think a lot of people maybe right now aren't. So how does that look for scheduling once you get to that point where you're leveraged and you're doing a lot? What does your daily schedule look like? What time do you get up? What do you do in the morning? What's your what days do you work? And then how do you balance that life?
Yeah, I'll pull back the curtain a little bit. It's gonna make me look a little crazy, but let me start with this. I think this is always a sensitive subject because the last thing I want to do is be like, oh, look at me, or look what I can do, and have people that maybe out there struggling a little bit, that that doesn't make them feel better. It just makes them feel worse. But I'll start by saying this.
And I only say this because I believe in what you're doing, and I want people to join on. But I hear what you're saying. I don't share a lot typically because I don't want to say, oh, look at me, because I've had slow months, I've had slow times, I've struggled for sure. But I think you have a platform to share. So
yeah, I think it's a good conversation because I think the reality is, and I can say this because I've seen so many doctors do it within the platform. Anybody can do it. It's most of the time we are the problem. We get in our own way. We don't give ourselves the permission or the ability to practice in the way we want and to be as successful as we want to be. Because the first thing that comes up is like, well, that doesn't work for me because I live in this town, or because I don't have an associate. I mean, I can give you a list of all of the things that happens. But my reality now, so for the last about 2.5 years, I've only done smile cases. That's all I do, smile cases and consults. And I work a 3-day-a-week schedule. I do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, I still work Thursday, half day Friday, but Thursdays it's all on Smile Virtual and, design and build out of new software, interacting with the community, things like that. And then if I am speaking somewhere, then I'll travel on a Thursday or Friday. But yeah, this month, I mean, I'll do more this month in production than I've ever done before. This will be my biggest month ever. And we are currently booked out for smiles. If you wanted to get a smile done by me, the next appointment, I think, is the end of September, maybe first week in October. And that's with prepaid appointments, with a $2,500 non-refundable deposit to hold that. And I would have never in a million years thought that could be possible. And what I've realized is there are millions, hundreds of millions of people out there looking to change something, looking for a dentist they trust, looking for an all-on-4, looking for a new smile. They have absolutely no idea who to trust. They have no idea what to do. They have no idea what things cost, so they're doing nothing. If you can learn how to tap into these people, it's game over. And I know that because, I've got other doctors now that have said, okay, you know what? I'm going to try this out. Let's see what it does. I have other doctors now that one of them's he's down to two days a week. He works 2 12-hour days and produces more 2 days a week than he did on 4 days because he's learned how to tap into these patients and how to find them. And so it isn't like when I first started doing this, I'll be honest, I was kind of selling the dream, right? I'm like, hey, I knew it worked for me, but I was trying to sell the dream to other doctors, knowing like, hey, you could have this too. But now it's different because we've got almost 400 doctors using the platform, and a lot of those see just big time success with the process. But I will say, like anything else, you've got to put in the work. You've got to be excited about it. You've got to put in the work to make it happen. We'll show you the way, but you got to do it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like working out, right? Like I get up every morning now and I run 5 miles, and then I come into work and I do my job. But it's like before, it's like, I was starting to put on a couple extra pounds, had to get some extra pair of jeans. I'm like, well, why am I gaining weight? And it's like, okay, well, I'm not putting in the work, right? It's just like anything else. Or with my practice, it's like, okay, it's beating me up. It's kicking me around. Why is this doing this? Well, because I'm not putting in systems. I'm not developing the time or the duties to get the practice working for me as opposed to me working for the practice, right? So I think it's just a mind shift. It's just you have to be a doer, not a and I know you talk about the difference between knowing and doing it, and that's all this is. But first of all, you got to know, right? So that's why I wanted to talk to you about today. Said there's some people that just don't know this exists, right? Okay, well now hopefully that's not an excuse. Now the only excuse is, are you willing to do the work, and is this something you want to do? And I think if the answer is yes, then you've got a great opportunity for people to do that, because this system is, it was designed for smile makeovers and cosmetic, but it totally works for implants too, and it can totally work for other stuff. I think it's just it's a paradigm shift in dentistry that if you get the shift, you're going to get it, and if you don't, unfortunately, you won't. So, what does the future in the next year look like for you? What should people know about Smile Virtual? How do they sign up? And then what does the next foreseeable future look like? Because I'm telling you, this is my busiest month I've ever had. And I can't work enough right now, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But how do people get signed up? How do they get going? And then once they get going, what should realistically that next year look like for them? Because I think right now is a pivotal point in dentistry. And I think the like the old term, the rich get rich, the poor get poor. I think we're going to see a separation after this post-COVID about dentists that utilize this type of technology and dentists that don't. And I think over the next couple of years, it's the gap's going to widen. So first of all, do you see that? Do you agree with that? What's that like? And then how do people get signed up with you?
Yeah, I do see that. I think, 6 months ago, teledentistry, virtual consults was just like, it was super cutting edge and it was like, oh, that's cool, but no, it's not for everybody. And then what happened with COVID is it hits, and now doctors can only connect virtually with patients. And so aside from the dental world now being aware of the ability and the success behind virtual consults, now patients are aware of it and they're more likely to do it. And so I think both of that, what used to be cutting edge is now the new normal. There's windows of time within dentistry, and you can look back. I remember, I was a CEREC trainer for a number of years, and there was this window of time where when you got in at the right time, you having a CEREC machine allowed your practice to just explode with growth, right? But then now, here we are, however many years later, and now having CAC, it's cool, but it's kind of like, it's not as like cutting edge because a lot of people have it. You can say the same thing for these doctors that have just exploded their practice with sleep apnea because they got in at the right time, went for it, and took advantage of that growth curve. So it's same thing with implants and all I'm for. It's just knowing when the right time is for you to jump in. And right now may not be the right time. But if you are in that place in dentistry where you're like, hey, yeah, this is great, but I would love to do more of the stuff I love. And I'm looking for a way to create leads instead of just waiting for leads. Like this is the way to do it. So, the easiest way, if you go to smilevirtualdentist.com, you can either go to smilevirtual.com. The easiest thing, the doctor, kind of information page is smilevirtualdentist.com. And that will give you access to a website that goes through the whole process, what comes with membership, exactly what it costs, all the details, standing behind my belief of make it really easy for people to figure out if it's a good fit for them. Just like if right now I was like, hey, yes, if you want to know more, schedule a 1-hour meeting with me 3 weeks from now, and I'll tell you the details. It doesn't make any sense, right? No, if you want to know more, go to Smile Virtual Dentist, and it'll tell you all the information. Then you can decide if you're ready. But it's the same thing. That's what we put patients through. They're like, oh yeah, you're excited. You want to know more? Great. I'll see you in 3 weeks in the middle of the day when you're supposed to be working.
Yeah. And we'll try to upsell you a bunch of things and give you the price at the end. Yeah. And that exactly. Stuff doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So but you got to be ready for it. You got to be, excited and ready to implement something new. But for the doctors that are, hey, jump on board. We'd love to have you in our community. If be a virtual dentist somehow. If it's not with Smile Virtual, figure out a way to do it and connect with people virtually because it is the future of our profession.
Well, I'm going to obviously post this podcast, and I hope I'm usually transparent enough that people reach out to me a lot, and I always give them the truth. So I'd be more than happy to share my experience, which has been nothing but positive so far. But I'm also going to continue to see. I like doing cosmetic work because I enjoy it. I don't want to do just cosmetic work, though. I like a blend of implant and cosmetic. So if my fingers aren't getting bloody at least once a day, I'm a little disappointed. But I do like the cosmetics too because it's fun. If you do it right, it can be. It's challenging, but it can be rewarding. And patients, it makes such a huge impact on patients' lives, and that's why I like it. So I'm going to also put a spin on this and say I'm going to double down my chips and really make this work for the implant game as well. So I'd love to be able to have another quote blueprint or a testimonial that says, hey, Dr. Gordon did this, and he's doing twice as many arches now, in addition to twice as many cosmetics. And I would love to be able to share that story in 6 months too. And I have nothing but confidence that that's going to be the case. So, I am totally thrilled about your system. I'm very excited about the opportunities you're creating for other dentists. And more importantly, I'm just glad you're sharing it with others, because a lot of times, people get things figured out, and it's just like, no, I'm going to keep this all to myself. Whereas you said, look, this is working, and I know it can work for others, and I'm gonna continue to share this with my patients, which get the benefit, and with other doctors that, the wave that you're making is going to be reached by so many other lives, because you're allowing other doctors to touch thousands of other people, right? So it's not just your hands can only do so much, Brian, and mine can too, but you're making it so that thousands of other dentist hands can create more opportunities for other people. And I think that's the real cool part here.
Oh, well, thank you. And I mean, it really is. It's rewarding. To me, it's a difference between achievement and fulfillment. It's fulfilling. It's exciting to be able to go to work and do this stuff and be extremely profitable, but it's more exciting to hear other people's stories of being stuck and how they got unstuck, and then it's what it's all about. So thank you for having me, man. This is great. Maybe we come back in 6 months and revisit it and see, where doctors have been able to take their practice. And we'll have to get on the call and do it again.
For sure. We'll do it again. I'll have more to talk about then. And I know we both have some busy days and busy lives and all that. So I really appreciate your time today, and look forward to meeting you one of these days when I'm out in Phoenix, and hope you have a great day and enjoy your week. All right, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you.